how do you think me and you could work together where it makes sense for both of us?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, how do you think that? How do you think we can work together?
Yeah. How many ways? How many ways, right? Not can we or can't we, but with good, kind-hearted, loving people, smart, respectful. It changes the question to me to how many ways can we work together? So I'm open. Number one, I'm open-minded and I like working with open-minded people. So if you come across anything, I am open to that possibility. I would say one of the things, so you're a wholesaler, right? You wholesale. I mean, that's not all you are, but I'm just saying that's one of the things that you do. So we can come at it from that angle. What are your leads that are not working? Let's take some of your leads that aren't working and let me work them. Have you look over my shoulder, work with me in conjunction with me, and let's maximize the profit that we can get off of those leads. Let me put something together to structure a type of deal in there. And then you'll end up learning from that. So not only would you get the short-term benefits of whatever money we could make from it, but you would get some of the skills from all of that as well. And just to see what the heck I'm doing, how I'm structuring them. And I get it that, you might not want to work with me forever. This isn't a forever type of marriage type of thing, but it's just, what can we do right now is the question. If you have some leads that they don't want your offer, it doesn't work for them, whatever that is, right? That's definitely a possibility. And then even, if they're open to your offer, I would just be careful as prices go down, the ARVs of them, from the buyer's aspect, the ARVs are going down once they're realizing that the prices are going down and your deals fall through. Like I'm sure you've had deals that you can't sell. I certainly have. That's not great because obviously that's wasted time and, missed opportunity for money from everyone's sake. Your acquisition people aren't making as much money. I assume you're paying them on commission. So they're not as happy at that point. So how can we look to structure more deals moving forward with things, asking the right questions when we have already built that rapport and we know that they're motivated, asking those right questions where we're just leading them down that path, leading them down that path for possibilities. And then I could even show you that we could sell these types of deals to a real estate investor. We could buy them ourselves. I'd like to set it up so that I could end up purchasing a lot. One of the things I'm doing a lot this year is getting a lot more private lenders on board and starting to put a fund together so that I have more buying power and able to maximize that buying power with a high cash on cash return by using creative finance, because a lot of the money is already brought to the table at that point. But we just need, there's usually something, like I say, 0 to 10% down. But even at 0, that the house doesn't cost us 0. There's costs associated with it. There's wholesale costs, right? Assignment fees for one. There's closing costs. If it's going to be a short-term rental, well, where's the furniture coming from? We're not whittling that out of the woods, but if we are, we got to pay someone to whittle that. So there's just costs associated with all those things. So just keeping those all in mind, it's just, how many ways can we do that? And then I would want to challenge you to find different type of deals as well, as opposed to just finding a single family home, and having that conversation with the seller. Well, let's go out and let's find property owners and keep asking everyone, who do you know that has properties? Who do you know that has 10 or more properties? Who do you know that has 100 or more properties? And let's go buy that whole darn portfolio. Let's structure that portfolio in a way that these owners, they can get that money over time so that, again, they're not getting hit with a big tax burden. Because what does any property owner, just like ourselves, we accumulate all these properties, what we're looking to do, we're trying to get money consistently every month so that we can retire.
Right.
We don't want to have that big chunk of money. Otherwise, we got to put that money to work again. Otherwise, it's not going to keep up with inflation. But if we can get someone to overpay for that property and pay them every month for years on end, well, then there's a lot more opportunity for them to just relax. And they become that savvy, passive investor at that point that's just getting mailbox money. You can play into that type of mindset of them. They've graduated now from being a landlord to a passive investor, a note investor.
That's what I was just going to ask though. What would make a investor who may have owned properties for years on time, 10, 20 plus years, that make them say, because the first thing they're going to say is, well, I'm already getting cash flow in this home. Why? I mean, what would, entice me to, want to work with you, where, like, so essentially I kind of just heard you say either paying them more for the property, or being able to allow them to maybe take a back seat, because that's a lot of issues you have with. I know it's a lot of investors who've been doing it for so long, right? I have a guy, we hosted a property like last week, and he actually owns, like, he still owns like 7, 8 more properties. We up them, so we've been trying to, like, one by one with him. And his biggest motivation was, hey man, I've been doing it so long. I just want to get out of it, man. I don't like the day-to-day type work, like, I want to kind of just sit, like he said, sell back and kind of chill. So kind of what you're saying though, so that sell point,
that's exactly one of them. That's exactly one of their motivations. But just like you look for motivation in any seller, you have to find a landlord with motivation. You can't just have someone who is perfectly cool with where everything is and the properties don't cause them any hassle, and everything is on autopilot for them. They've got their team, they've got everything in place. Well, then it probably doesn't make sense for them yet. Doesn't make sense for them right now. And that's okay. Right? That's totally okay. So we're not trying to create a seller out of something, but we just want to, like, who do you know that has properties that they want to sell, that has 10 or more properties that they want to sell? Honestly, who has properties that they need to sell? That's cool. But right now we can handle properties that they want to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the name of the game. And they can graduate to that higher level of a real estate investor where it's much more passive. So it's more for the people that are getting out of the game, for the people that are older, and maybe even for the people that want to have a consistent income. You can imagine that they might not want to have a big taxable event in 1 year and then have lower amounts that they're getting or nothing at that point, because what are they going to do with their money? What are they going to do with their money? Where are they going to put their money otherwise? So that's part of the problem, is that there's not a huge buying frenzy like there was a year ago because interest rates were so low. So they can't maximize the amount that they're getting out of it. Shucks, I was selling properties that were problems for me. Duplexes, triplex, something like this, where it's a nuisance having people living that close, where there's a lot of turnover that happens in an area that I don't want to deal with anymore. Maybe I got that property with no money down. Maybe I got that property with a private lender back 8 years ago. Well, now everyone's paying a whole heck of a lot of money for it because money is so cheap. So we went and we sold those properties that we didn't like. But my name of the game is really buy and hold forever. Like, I don't really plan on selling and really ever. I mean, unless there was some impending reason why, but a lot of the times you can just mitigate that with other things. So it's making sure that they're motivated, number one, and making sure that they're aware of the benefits of it. But that's the thing, is once you start to talk to these business owners, you say the word taxes, you have that type of conversation, they get it. It's not as much of an education as it is for an owner occupant that's living in the home, where they've got the marks of the heights of their kids in their kitchen, all penciled out over the years, where you're almost taking a property away from them when they have no other option anyway. But no, this is a great way for them to maximize their value, because maybe they don't want to wait. Maybe they're like, oh man, I wanted to sell 6 months ago, but I just never got around to it. I was dealing with all these things because they had too much going on. They couldn't get very organized, so they missed the boat.
Yeah.
So those are the types of people that I have conversations with. I mean, and I was doing this back in the day too. And it's usually these types of people have mortgages. They're probably not all free and clear. They usually have some type of leverage on those properties. So usually we can take over payments for those leverage. And so it's informing them, educating them about that asset that they have, which is the debt. That debt is an asset because it's probably at an interest rate that's cheaper than we can get now. So we're willing to pay more for the property because the debt is at a smaller interest rate.
Yeah.
And so they can understand that pretty easily. Like, it's not like this huge hurdle to try and get them over that thought process. They understand that. So it's like, okay, they understand that. And yeah, and if they can finance the rest of it or a portion of it, right? Usually someone might want something down. It's not all the time, but usually they want something down. And then it's like, okay, well, what if it was nothing down? Could I pay an extra, put out the thousands of dollars, whatever it would take. But if you pay more money up front, can I get no money down on it? And if I put more money out, can I get a lower interest rate? Maybe even 0% interest rate where I'm just making principal payments on those things.
Yeah.
I've said to people before, I'd pay double for a property if I got the payments where I needed them to be. If I got the terms just right, I would pay double for a property, because if I could make it cash flow, and if it was just basically paying equity payments every month, I could pay double. It's over time. And it's like you're taking the interest that you would pay and you're just adding it to the purchase price. So, it's like, it's kind of just shuffling things around, but you could imagine the benefit, a lot of different benefits from just doing things like that. But yeah, so that's where all the structuring comes into play. But that's where, your conversation has to get a little structured with the sellers at that point in order to get them to understand that and then realize that it's a good option for them, and then to just move forward with that, have that confidence in us to move forward at that point. So yeah, that's entirely possible. Whenever you had leads like that, I could help work them with you, have those conversations, analyze them so that we could structure things so that it makes sense for everyone involved. And again, yeah, I'm not much of a risk type of person, so I'm going to make sure that we're very conservative in our underwriting.
Yeah.